our Dr. Mangesh Karandikar and Samrat Fadnavis. Samrat Fadnavis seriously ill and he is admitted in hospital. He cannot join with us. And also Mangesh Karandikar, his father is under surgery right now in a hospital. He is in the hospital and he expressed his inability to join with us. So we are very sorry and we inform this negative message to all of our participants. So now I request Dr. Sunayan Bhattacharya to moderate this session as per the schedule we have circulated. Thank you all once and again. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. As Professor Padi already said, my name is Professor Sunayan Bhattacharya, and I shall be moderating the session for this particular session. It is an unique opportunity for me to moderate this August panel, although it might seem a little cliche, just so that everyone here is tuned in, this plenary session too would delve on media and digital literacy. Ironical that the words media, digital, and literacy seem different. The reality, though, is that all these three words are woven by a single cord. While contemporary literacy is predominantly dependent on the usage of different media platforms, media, by its very definition, has become digital. This is proven beyond doubt when we look at how kids these days take their daily lessons from the ubiquitous smartphones or dedicated television programs aimed at educating children. Subject to the proliferation of digital media platforms, learning has become way more convenient than what was earlier the case. However, notwithstanding the silver linings, there are definite areas of concern as well. Digital divide still looms large, and a significant portion of the Indian population still aren't concerned by modern media. These areas of simmering unease require intelligent discourses and deliberations by academicians, policymakers, and intellectuals. These discourses are required to improve the scenario and make India a more inclusive country in terms of all of media, digital technologies, and literacy. To aid the process, we have a very distinguished panel today, consisting of some of the finest public intellectuals of our times. Their erudite presentations would significantly help in creating a set of solutions. Without wasting any more time, let me introduce the esteemed members of this panel. The panel will be chaired, as Professor Padi has already mentioned, by Professor Ujjwal K. Chaudhary, a leading media academic and internationally acclaimed speaker and writer. Professor Chaudhary is the Secretary of Global Media Education Council, and until recently, he was serving as the Pro Vice Chancellor of Kolkata-based IMS University. He has spearheaded some of the finest media institutes in the country and taken them to newer heights. Formerly the Dean of the School of Contemporary Media at Pearl Academy and the Director of Ramoji Kriyan Universe, strategically located in the Ramoji Film City in Hyderabad, Professor Chaudhary has also been a Dean at Symbiosis International Deemed University in Pune and Amity University in Mumbai. He also acted as the Dean of Whistling Woods International in Mumbai. Earlier, Professor Chaudhary has been a media advisor with the Ministry of Textiles, Government of India, and the World Health Organization. Professor Chaudhary is widely believed to have introduced the concept of convergence in media education. To add dimensions to the discourse, we have Professor Dr. Ujjwala Barve, a stalwart in her own rights. Dr. Barve is a professor and the head of the Department of Communication and Journalism under Savitribai Phule Pune University. She is a past student of the same department where she is now teaching since 1996. After completing her graduation in Communication and Journalism in 1984, she worked in a Marathi newspaper, Maharashtra, before joining All India Radio in New Delhi to work first as a newsreader and later as an assistant news editor. She was associated with All India Radio in Pune as well for many years after her return to Pune. She made a foray into television journalism with a local video daily, Pune Varta. Later, she anchored a popular weekly current affairs discussion program on Doordarshan Sahyadri channel since its launch in 2002 until 2012. She went back to academics in 1995 to get a master's degree in communication and journalism. Later, she joined the department as a media teacher. Her doctoral research was about the accuracy of language used in Marathi radio and television bulletins. She teaches language skills, radio journalism, media research, and advertising. Her research areas are media and communication, media education, diaspora media, etc. She has presented research papers in national and international conferences. She has translated many books from English into Marathi, including Indian Media Business by Vanita Kohli Khandekar. She has contributed chapters to a few books on media as well. The next in line is another stalwart of Indian media education. Professor Dr. Survi Dahiya is presently working as professor and post-director in the Department of English Journalism at Indian Institute of Mass Communication under the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, Government of India. She is IMCR faculty ambassador. She is the former editor of Communicator, a very prestigious journal. She started her career as a correspondent to the Tribune 2 decades back and later shifted to academics. Dr. Dahiya holds a PhD degree in media studies and is a dual master's degree. She is MSc in mass communication and technology and an MBA in HR. She was a gold medalist in her graduation. Dr. Dahiya was the SUCI Scholar from India for the study of US institutes in the year 2017. She studied journalism at Ohio University during that period and was also certified from the US State Department. She was elected as the liaison chair for academia and industry by the South Asian Communication Association, SACA, in Chicago, where she was also participated in AEJMC conference in 2017. She was an invited delegate for a roundtable workshop conducted by ESRC and ICSSR on social media research held in January 2015 in London. She chaired a number of sessions and presented multiple research papers nationally and internationally. She was a UNESCO panelist on safety of journalists in Montreal and a paper presenter at IIMCR at Canada in July 2015. She was in AMIC conference in Dubai in June 2015, World Press Freedom Day at Helsinki in Finland in May 2016, Journalism Education at IIMCR Leicester in UK in July 2016, ICA Prague, Czech Republic in May 2018, 5th World Journalism Education Congress held at Paris Dauphine University in Paris in July 2019. She is also the author of The House That Z Built. She compiled Connecting Threads, a compendium of media educators of India, which is still used by everybody today. And she has also won many awards for excellence in the field of journalism education. Without wasting any more time, let me invite Professor Ujjwal K. Chaudhary to give the opening remarks so that we can begin our program on the right honest. Professor Chaudhary.
Thank you, Dr. Sunan. Thank you for a very elaborate introduction to all of us. It's flattering, but the point is sometimes it's a little embarrassing as well. I'm looking forward to listening to the two erudite ladies in the panel. I have been reading about the new books being launched by Dr. Surbi Dahiya and waiting to, lay my hands on the latest book. I think Beat Reporting is the latest, I suppose. That one I have been talked about. And Ujjwala ji, so nice to see you again. You have been very recently in one of our GMEC programs as an eminent educator award winner and also addressed the GMEC platform. This is indeed a very interesting program that is being done on a blended mode. This conference started 5 years ago on a physical face-to-face, and I remember a couple of times that had gone. What a beautiful organizing and welcoming and all those things had happened there at Bhubaneswar under the leadership of Dr. Padhi, Manoranjan ji, and many others. And last year and this year is gone blended in this manner. As we are seeing, there is a group of people who are attending physically, and there's a large number of people attending online. This is the call of the times. The topic given, I would not like to go too deep into it because I'm waiting for the ladies to come out with more research-based content. But as the chairperson of this particular session, I would just introduce the topic in my own way, in a brief, just to set the ball rolling, if I can say. So media, I mean, this word is much used expression. It can denote all platforms that we use to communicate. Offline, which is books and magazines and newspapers, online, on the social media and on the internet, on air, radio and television, on ground, all forms of work that we do on ground when we meet together, and on mobile, which has become the sine qua non in the digital era, and which has become the sort of the mother medium in this era. And media can also denote the content that we make and share. And the content may have many purposes: communication purpose, to inform, to educate, to entertain. We know that. and in modern times, more infotain, to edutain, to persuade, to sell, to engage, to interact, and also to empower. So these media can mean all these, and hence we often say media and communication. Now, literacy, as per UNESCO's 2004 definition, may mean the ability to identify, understand, interpret, create, and communicate anything using printed and written materials associated with various contexts, different contexts. Now, in our case, in India, we say the ability to read and write your name. Basic writing skills is literacy. UNESCO has gone a little beyond, adding a few more things here. When this literacy as defined by UNESCO, this can be done using media messages, then it's media literacy. And if this can be done using the internet and digital means, it takes us to digital literacy. So today we are actually trying to decode various aspects of media literacy and digital literacy. And in fact, media literacy will finally encapsulate a lot of various forms of literacy. The SAGE publication titled Digital and Media Literacy explains these multi-literacy domains like print literacy, visual literacy, information literacy, critical literacy, computer literacy, news literacy, net literacy, and digital literacy, going beyond that, going within the net far more. So therefore, we come to a situation where media literacy and digital literacy in today's world of web domination becomes almost interchangeable, almost if not completely. Digital literacy actually is the socially responsible use of the internet and social network platforms. So media literacy is much more expanded a concept than just using media. For example, the National Association for Media Literacy Education defines media literacy as the ability to access, analyze, evaluate, create, and act using all forms of media platforms and communication functions. Question is, why do we need ML and DL today? Why are we talking about this in this particular forum? Is it a matter for only media educators, learners, or professionals, media learners and media professionals, or for the larger masses? As we know, this literacy is needed to fight the so-called fake news. And it is needed to be better informed, to be more responsible citizens, to become better decision makers, better content creators, and surely finally evolve a better society. While it is a must for media learners, educators, and professionals, it is very important for all strata of the society, not just those directly connected to media. What is the biggest role? Fight the wrong use of information. So there is information, which is the fact. Then there is misinformation, where someone unknowingly shares something which is false. Then there is disinformation, where someone consciously creates a falsehood and then shares. And finally, there is malinformation, where the falsehood is consciously created to harm someone individually or in groups, harm others physically, financially, and socially. Over these last 2 years of pandemic, we know how misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation have functioned. And this disinformation and malinformation creates fake news, what we call as fake news. But I would not like to use the word, this expression. If it is fake, it's not news, and if it is news, it cannot be fake. So it's false content. So what we need is right media literacy or digital literacy to check the fake and break the fake, to control the false content. Digital world has a challenge. The challenge is of speed of news. But credibility of an information is to be ensured by balancing the speed, fast delivery of news, and high reliability at the same time, without actually compromising either. As we know, many organizations have taken upon themselves to break this or to expose this false content. We have Alt News, by Quint has come out with Webcoof, social media, Hoaxlayer, SMHS of my friend Pankaj Jain, Fact Checker, Boom, Viral Search in ABP channel, many others are there. And false content becomes a bigger challenge in the digital world because of the speed of technology and the virality of a false, so-called false news item, a fake news item. We know that human beings often suffer from confirmation bias. That is, we tend to believe any information which is even false if it reiterates our existing beliefs and biases. So we liked when there was apparently a harmless story that Indian national anthem has been voted as the best one in the world by UNESCO, whereas nothing has happened like that. But we love it because it actually helps us to believe, to reiterate our belief. And there are bigger and more serious issues through confirmation bias. We often unconsciously actually belong to an echo chamber and have perspective about an issue repeating itself ad nauseum. Also, the digital algorithms, now we have understood through the Facebook and all, the digital algorithms promote a certain filtered bubble during our searches also online, whether it's any form of search online. And this reinforces our confirmation bias. Apart from confirmation biases, there are selection biases of those who produce the media content. Who are we selecting as our data, as the data, or as the subject of our research? Including the omission bias, whom are we omitting? Now, a good exposure of media literacy and digital literacy will make us realize how our media utilizes confirmation bias, omission bias, and selection bias. How our media has male domination. How our media is Hindu upper caste dominated by the privileged urban middle class, disproportionately to their numbers in the society. How it is dominated by certain corporate interests, specific political interests. Alongside, there is also LGBTQ issues, the issues connected to sexuality and their perspectives being marginalized in media. And usually the lower castes and minorities also largely marginalized, if not in all cases. And according to our biases, we all see one of these and ignore the others. For example, a person, let's say a lady, may actually recognize the male domination in media, but may not recognize the Hindu upper caste domination also. And vice versa, and in other forms, in other communities as well. Then there is a blatant propaganda, which aims to manipulate others' beliefs, attitudes, and actions through the use of symbols, words, music, reinterpretation of history, selective use of facts and arguments, and whataboutery. You know, what about that? When we are discussing X, we talk about Y. What about that? And deliberately manufacturing popular opinions and attitudes. These are rampant in media, sometimes very subtle, but sometimes very blatant as well. Then there's clickbaits in digital communication, often exaggerating a news, or even propagates falsehood using polarizing headlines, creating a major political deception, digital deception. I mean, when we use polarizing headlines and many other clickbait techniques, there is a digital deception. And at times, there can be a good clickbait as well, exposing a reality, but which exists but is ignored. But larger time, the clickbaits actually create digital deception. Media literacy, digital literacy gives the ability to differentiate falsehood from information, right information. It makes the learner comprehend and make positive use of technological convergence of media platforms, positive use of the emergence of transmedia audiences, an increasing audience shift to multimedia and digital platforms where video storytelling is becoming dominant. Now, these factors, if with media literacy, digital literacy, a content creator can make good use of these particular factors. And media literacy and digital literacy also teaches us to search for diversity of sources, various perspectives of an issue, alternate viewpoints also that may exist, which may be different from my confirmation bias. And it develops critical thinking, which is the key skill that ML and DL is expected to nurture amongst us. This critical thinking allows us to analyze the information from different sources and perspectives, compare it with other similar information, evaluate and research to reach a conclusion, not reaching a conclusion straight in a hurry, not to conclude in a hurry based on our confirmation bias or communicators' selection or omission bias. This media literacy and digital literacy allows us to separate false content from the right news, unethical advertising from ethical branding, bad cinema from good cinema. And therefore, critical thinking evolved through media and digital literacy will allow us to evolve positive skepticism which critically analyzes sources, messages, channels, and the receivers of the message, SMCR as we call it, and helps us in taking informed action and shape our opinion accordingly. Who thinks deeper and better on who created the message? Media literacy will teach us to explore this. The sources from where it has come, the words and the clickbaits used in the message, possible purposes, target audiences, the views which are omitted, the audience which is omitted, the authenticity of the visuals used. It will teach us to analyze pictures, do reverse imaging of pictures, break a video into small images and search, and adopt many other skills to differentiate the right from the false. And hence, I suggest, and from this conference, from this conclave, there should be a strong appeal to the media academic community, and we shall also take it up in our Media Education Council as well, that ML and DL, that is Media and Digital Literacy, should as a basic course and with an advanced component later, is a must in all undergraduate and postgraduate media education today. And the fundamentals of this literacy, media and digital literacy as a skill to be possessed in a must, is a must component. This skill must be possessed and must be brought in as a must component in school and higher education of all types, not just media. This is more so because false content, cyberbullying, false alarms, etc. through digital media are harming the entire society. And we need to really take care of this. And this literacy is the only weapon, only muscle that will protect us from such cyberbullying or false content and many other things that emanate from it. With this, I'll take it back to the moderator of the day, Dr. Sunayan. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your rather erudite presentation on what digital literacy and media literacy is all about. And you had picked up some very important points concerning fake news and how they should be a part of regular curriculum, in schools and colleges for media students and other students as well. Now, I shall pass on the buck to Professor Dr. Ujjwala Barve, who through our presentation will add layers to this discourse. Over to you, madam.
It's my time, right? Okay. Can you hear me properly? So I'll share my presentation and then start my talk. So just give me a second. And while I'm doing, please allow me to present my screen. And while it's being done, I thank Professor Padi for inviting me to this National Media Conclave. And I'm really happy to see my senior colleague Ujjwalji and my dear friend Survi here in the panel. And I'm very happy to have acquainted with Dr. Sunayan because of this. And we really miss meeting people in person and networking. But people like Professor Padi make it happen anyhow. So that's a good thing. And so I'm just let me know when you can see my PowerPoint presentation. I'm really grateful to Professor Chaudhary for explaining what media literacy is, media and digital literacy is, so that I can focus on that one particular segment of population that actually is crying out for help in getting literate and probably is not getting enough attention. We are always focusing on young people. We are thinking of educating media students further about what is fake news and all. But while the digital medium has become an integral part of life, it is the senior citizens, it is the older people who are being left out of the training, and that's why they are at a disadvantage. So for this particular purpose, I decided to focus only on that segment because it comes from my personal experience. Through an NGO, I'm already engaged in imparting some skills and some literacy training to senior citizens, and through them we understand the various problems that they face. So that is why the title of my presentation is need for MDL, I mean, in short, media and digital literacy intervention for older people. So this comes from my own experience, my observations, as well as the ample amount of research that has gone into it. And one particular work that I would like to cite, or I have referred
Madam,
to,
can you
is
please make it full screen? Can you please make it full screen if you don't mind?
yes, 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 yes. Yeah, it's in full screen, and I've changed the slide. Yes, it is changing, and it's seen. Yeah. Okay. So of course, I've given the different references also to the in the slides here. The point is that, and that Professor Chaudhary also has discussed the UNESCO definition of media and information literacy, because this is what we do with the content. We search, we access, but we have to critically assess, we have to use, and we also have to contribute, because especially with the social media, we are not just passive consumers, but we are also active contributors. And how to contribute in a meaningful way is also something that needs to be taught, not only to media students, but to the common public. And that is why we have to look at it. When it comes to the older people, a lot of researchers have gone into it, and one especially that was done by the Media Insight Project of the American Press Institute. It says that, of course, the older people consume the conventional media much more than the younger generation. And though they may not have got media education, they are quite familiar with the way the conventional media works, and are more familiar with the terminology and the goings on behind the media that they consume. But it has been found that they find television news much more trustworthy than the younger generation, and but have more information about media as to how it functions. The thing is that with the proliferation of private television news channels also, and we have started doubting, or at times questioning, the legitimacy of news that is broadcast on television news. But it was found, and this was kind of a world trend, we can say, so it is applicable to India as well. As you know, that the younger people more on the digital media, whereas the older people still consume the conventional media, about which also they need some understanding. But over the years, because of experience, they have been able to ascertain for themselves what is right, what is wrong, what should be consumed, what should not be consumed. But when it comes to the digital literacy, it is not reached to the older people to the extent required. And why actually they need more is that they are quite slow in learning new skills. As everybody knows that they were all of us were suddenly taken into the digital world, and we see that in our families also. A 2-year-old is probably teaching his or her grandparents how to use the technology, because at that age one is wary of using the technology, one is also slow in the intake, and that is why it takes them more time to master the new technology, and that's why some more time has to be spent on them. And digital technology was introduced to them later in their lives, so when there is less confidence perhaps. And moreover, school children, college children are available as a group, readily available as a group, so that such literacy intervention can be carried out much more effectively. The older people are not available as a group, so special efforts have to be made to reach out to them and see to it, or ensure that they are given the required inputs. This particular research that I have drawn upon a lot is Rasi, Biovari, and Renevens, that they have done a systematic review of 40 research papers that assess the efficacy of digital literacy intervention programs for older people. And they found that usually the older people use it for news, travel, health, banking, and of course, entertainment, social interaction. But what is the most striking part of this is that older people tend to use the digital media more for health related information. And we are all aware of the WebMD and being half doctors because of the easy accessibility to health-related information and self-diagnosis, self-medication is what the older people get into a lot using the digital technology, is what is a very striking finding in one of the studies that was conducted. And then,
Dr. Bharti,
yeah.
Can you make the screen full? Because
yeah, I have.
Can you
But
make the screen full?
It is full.
No, it is not. From the bottom.
Sir, I think she has some graphics problem. It popped up basically, so that's why she cannot make it full screen.
Okay. I made it full screen, but I think it's not scrolling along.
Never mind.
I mean, when I'm scrolling it, you are not seeing it. I think now you can see it.
Yes, we can see it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I will not use the full screen mode. That happens at times. Right. That the full screen mode, it doesn't scroll on Zoom.
Okay. Chal.
Yeah. Experience. Okay. So sorry about that, but let me close this. Yeah. So the point is that the health-related information, I mean, that is a imminent danger that is there, that if they do not know where does the information come from, and they are using it, and moreover, they are sharing this kind of information. I came across a very interesting research by 2 doctors about sharing of information related to COVID-19. And they found that in the developing country, WhatsApp users aged over 65 years and those involved in elementary occupations were found to be most vulnerable to false information disseminated via WhatsApp. And people have reported in some of the researches that they resorted to most unscientific remedies because they got it from WhatsApp and they didn't know what was the source, what to believe and what to not. So that is something that has to be focused. Then, of course, it comes to fake news, and Professor Chowdhury has laid the ground for that. But when it comes to the older people, they are found to be more trusting than maybe the younger generation. They also do not know the fact checkers that are there and go back and check whether the news is right or wrong. And moreover, that generation particularly is, quite likely to believe in official looking content. The official word was always big for them. And nowadays, the younger generation is so much familiar with the social media. They know that not everything has to come from official sources. But to older people, it's very difficult for them to differentiate between what is official, what is unofficial. And this study also found that along with text, if there are images and videos, then the older people find it highly credible. And so they are likely to share and spread also to a large extent. That is that was found in POESA's study. And of course, one of the biggest dangers that we come across day in and day out is of older people. People of all ages fall prey to cyber frauds, but it's more the older people who get into the net of the cyber fraudsters or cyber scams. Again, because we have suddenly shifted to e-transaction without proper training, without being even prepared for it. And the sense of data security, data privacy is still not there. I mean, we conduct programs. I am also involved in another NGO that conducts sessions for children as to how they should use the cyberspace with more responsibility. And we talk about those, but one of the grandparents of a child was present in that virtual lesson, and he said that it's more useful to me than my grandson, because nobody ever told me that how to set a password, how to identify a clickbait, and how much information to share or not to share. So they are the most vulnerable when it comes to the cyber frauds. The police records show how many senior citizens have been duped of large amounts of money. Then, of course, in all areas of life, there is gender disparity when it comes to digital literacy also. And first of all, women get their own devices rather late. They are not up to they are not state-of-art equipment kind of thing. They are passed down on hand-me-down kind of devices. There is nobody to teach them. And then if they are not there, then they are excluded from the social networking, because if they can't use the social media, then they don't have that platform which is probably available to the men. And then financial transactions also become difficult for them, and they have to rely on somebody. So we have to take into account that also. So whenever a digital literacy intervention is planned, probably women have to be identified as a priority area, perhaps, to bridge this disparity. So the point is that what needs to be done? Okay, ample research has gone into it. There are people specializing in issues of the older people when it comes to digital literacy. But what has come out from this is that basically how to use the device. I mean, we have to start from that. With younger people, they know the device well, but with the older people, and there are organizations like Agewell Foundation and HelpAge India and other small NGOs that are already doing that. But introduction to the device, then learning multimedia skills, how to use, how to type, how to record your audio, how to record your video, because that also can be used very effectively by them. How does it happen? When you open a social media account, what exactly happens? What kind of information is asked for what reasons? And how to set the security settings and privacy settings, and what precautions to be taken, especially when it comes to passwords. Passwords should not be easy to guess. Passwords should not be shared with anyone. Passwords should not be written anywhere that are visible to you and to others as well. So these are some of the tips that have to be given to them, and help them understand the content that reaches them through the digital media. So, show them a number of examples. So what is the source of the content? What is the likely intent behind it? That also has to be ascertained. That is a part of digital literacy, anyhow, media literacy. Critically evaluate, because as I said earlier, is the health related information that older people are using very, very actively. So they have to be able to know, critically evaluate who is saying this. Does it have a scientific basis? Has it been proved? What are the sources that are quoted? Probably by showing some examples, they can be educated about that. And application in the sense that if they want to have their own Instagram account, so Facebook account, of course they should be encouraged, because it's a great opportunity to network with others. But then how does it work? That also has to be told. And when they contribute, that is, create some content on their own or contribute some information. So how much private information should be shared? What kind of content should be or should not be posted? What is also important is that how you respond to other people's content. Like simple like or love button is okay, but when you post or when you write a comment, then there are likely to be repercussions. So how you can be cautious when you do that. And of course, with the WhatsApp, and older people are using WhatsApp to a great extent, and they love sharing and forwarding content that they receive without probably checking, without probably believing in it, and then how it just creates more false information. What is one very interesting point that has come out of the various researches that I found was that the older people should be encouraged and taught to create their own narrative in the digital space, so that proper representation of old age reaches a wider audience. Now, whatever depiction of old age as such we see in the media is probably not created by old people themselves. So, that is why creating their own narratives is something that one of the interventions that was studied in this study, it focused on that, and it enabled them, it empowered them to tell their stories, what life stage they are at, what they have learned and all that. So that's a very interesting aspect. So instead of just being passive consumers, how can they put out their own viewpoint is also something that can be a part of the digital literacy interventions. So, and where do we come in here? Of course, it's not somebody else has to do it. We have to do it. Media schools can take up, small communities around the schools, out of the sense of social responsibility. Our students can be taught to sit with smaller groups on a weekly basis, monthly basis, and the students will get hands-on experience of explaining this to older people, and they might learn more in the process about how the media works, how the digital space works. we can also through that collect ample primary research data. We are so keen on building our research corpus, and with that probably we can also develop some replicable intervention models suitable to Indian situation, and that we can share it with our colleagues across the country, and do our bit in making this very strong group but very vulnerable group at the same time use the digital media more with more responsibility, and also allow them to enjoy the benefits of the media that we are enjoying at the same time. So I don't think it will be too difficult. So from the left to the right will not be such a difficult thing for us to achieve, only if we shift our focus a little bit. Not shift, if we add one more angle to the propagation of digital literacy and focus on this age group as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It was such a lovely talk, So we usually talk about action research, and this is one great example of action research, how digital divide is being, implemented in terms of age, in terms of gender, in terms of other differentiating factors as well, and what are our responsibilities vis-a-vis dividing this, bridging this digital divide. Thank you so much, madam. Now, the buck passes on to Professor Dr. Surabhi Dahiya, who in her own rights is one of the biggest doyens of media education in this country. And the podium is all yours, madam. Thank you.
So thank you, Dr. Sanayan. So hello, friends. Nice to meet you on the NMC platform once again. And I am Dr. Surabhi. So, since, Professor Chaudhary has already told us about misinformation, disinformation, fake news, and digital and media literacy, what it is all about. And Professor Ujjwala has already talked about how media and digital literacy impacts the lives of older people. So I would like to confine my talk on basically similarities and dissimilarities in the digital literacy and media literacy. Are they the same? Are they different? What do researchers feel about, media literacy and digital literacy? I'll be talking about some of the concepts, key concepts of digital literacy and media literacy. And since we've already talked about, repercussions and impact of digital and media literacy in older people, I would like to focus more on the youth then. And I would also, as media educator, I would like to discuss some points that how media and digital literacy, how we as media educators can bring digital and media literacy in our classrooms, in our curriculum. So I would like to focus on that because I'm sure some of the media educators are here with us and some of the students of media, are here with us. So dear colleagues and dear friends and dear students, there's a considerable debate, amongst experts and, academicians around the world as to how digital and media literacy should be defined, first of all. Many of them believe that digital literacy is a part of media literacy. So they have both included in they are both included in the idea of information literacy. So, what is information literacy? It is the ability and, ability to effectively find, identify, or evaluate, or use information in a proper manner. So digital literacy specifically applies to media from the internet, from smartphones, from video games, and any other non-traditional source. So just as the media literacy includes the ability to identify media and its messages, create media responsibly. So digital literacy includes both skills and skills as well as ethical obligations, as Dr. Chaudhary also talked about. But at the same time, this Canadian, I was researching, so I was reading one article by the Canadian Center for Digital and Media Literacy, the Smarts Media. So it says that it is generally agreed that skills and competencies for digital literacy and media literacy are closely related to each other, and to additionally the so-called 21st century skills, which are important, the key concepts for media literacy. So when we talk about the 21st century skills, it's all about using the internet and using the Facebook and WhatsApp and all other digital mediums. For example, if you talk about the key concepts of media literacy, then we have learned that media is constructed, that audience can negotiate meaning. We've all read George Gerbner's model. What is the gist of George Gerbner's model? That the meaning of the message is a negotiation between the message and the receiver. So what you negotiate out of that meaning, what you negotiate out of that message is different. So that audience, it can negotiate meanings that media have, commercial, my media have commercial, status as well, social and political implications as well, and that each medium has a unique aesthetic form that affects how content is presented. So we will be discussing about these media concepts, key concepts in when I discuss media literacy. And they are, as equally applicable to watching TV news as to searching for maybe health information online. So although, digital and media literacy both draw from the same core skills of critical thinking, which is very important in both, the fact that most digital media are networked and, very interactive, it raises some additional issues and requires additional habits and skills. So media literacy generally focuses on teaching youth to be critically engaged consumers of media, while digital literacy is more about enabling youth to participate in digital media in a wise, in a safe, in a secure or atmosphere, environment, and also in an ethical way. And so it is very important to keep in mind that digital literacy, it does not, replace, or it doesn't run parallel to media literacy in this sense, but rather it builds on, while incorporating new concepts that arise from the added dimensions of networked interactivity. At the same time, many digital issues, they cannot be understood without traditional media literacy, without understanding what is media literacy and how it works in traditional systems. For example, one cannot fully understand why online services want to collect their personal information without even exploring the commercial considerations of those services, or a traditional concern of media literacy. So even a very highly technical subject, maybe like the role of algorithms or Google search or Facebook newsfeed, why they are using our data in shaping our online experience and behavior, that can really only be understood through a media literacy lens, because it depends on recognizing that these were made by people and that they were not neutral tools, but rather reflect the biases or the assumptions of their creators. So now let us talk about the key concepts of digital literacy and the key concepts of media literacy, and how as media educators we can bring it to our curriculums and to our classrooms. So, when we talk, let's talk about digital literacy first, because that is more talked about these days. And, today's youth, they are called as digital natives, because by the older people, because, of the seemingly, effortless way that they engage with all these mediums, whether it is a cell phone or a laptop or an iPad or any software. So they live in a very interactive, as Dr. Ujjwala has also said, that, there's a ready group for peer group of the youth. So the youth live in a very, very, interactive, on-demand, digital culture, where they are used to accessing media wherever and whatever they can or whatever they want. So instant messaging could be one example, photo sharing or texting or social networking or maybe video streaming or AVODs, SVODs, vlogs, mobile internet use. They're all examples of, how youth have led the charge in the new ways of engaging online. But this enthusiasm, it masks a potential problem also sometimes, because although young people, they don't need coaxing to take up internet technologies and their skills to quickly improve relative to their elders, as Dr. Bharve said. Without any guidance, they remain, amateur users of ICTs, because this raises concerns about a generation of youth who are not fully digitally, literate. They are deeply immersed in cyberspace. So therefore, it is not enough to assume that young people automatically have all the skills, knowledge and understanding that they need to apply to their use of technology. The use of technology they can do, but how and why, what are the interpretations, what are the, decoding of messages, how to act. So this has also to be learned, acquired skill. So all young people, they need to be, supported to thrive in digital cultures, and they need help making sense of, a rapidly changing world of technology, which gives them access to vast amounts of information. And in order to be literate in today's environment, which is media rich, young people also need to develop knowledge and values and a whole range of critical thinking, also communication, information management skills, because there's an information overload also. So they also need,
Could everyone else please unmute themselves for the one speaking? Professor Usha Ravi, can you please put your phone?
Professor Usha Ravi, Professor Usha Ravi,
so I was talking that, in today's media-rich environments, how young people also need to develop their knowledge and values and a whole range of critical thinking and, communication and information management skills, basically, for the digital age. There's a lot of information overload. So, what to read, what not to read, what to save, what not to save. So as increasing numbers of, businesses, services, and even domestic, processes, maybe online, they migrate. So the youth or the citizens who lack digital literacy skills, they risk being, disadvantaged when it comes to assessing anything. Could be government policy, could be a healthcare, or could be any opportunity for employment or education. So in that sense, if you see, everybody knows that, digital literacy is more than technological know-how. It includes, as I've just said, that a wide variety of ethical, social, reflective practices, which are embedded in the work. And globally, if you see, there's one International Society for Technology in Education, ISTE. It has framed its benchmark for digital literacy around 6 standards. So one is creativity and in innovation. Second is communication and collaboration. Third is research and information fluency. Then they have critical thinking. Problem solving is another one, and decision making is another one. Apart from this, technology operations and concepts should also be clear. So these are the 6 standards around which the benchmark for digital literacy has been developed by them. Then apart from this, if you talk about competencies for digital literacy, it can be classified in 3 main principles. One is how to use it, and second is how to understand it, and third is how to create it. So use basically represent the technical fluency and that's needed to engage with the computers or internet. And understand is the major thing. What we're talking about digital literacy, understanding is that critical piece. It's a set of skills that help us comprehend and contextualize and critically evaluate the digital media. And understanding also includes recognizing how network technology affects our behavior and our perceptions. We all have read individual differences theory. We have read what is selective exposure, what is selective perception, what is selective retention, and how these beliefs and feelings about the world develop around us. And understanding also prepares us for a knowledge economy as we develop individually and collectively. Third is to create. To create is very, very important, because create is the ability to produce the content and effectively communicate through a variety of digital media tools. So we all are media educators, and I sincerely believe that we give an opportunity to our students to create media products, to create media content, so that they learn faster. So if you talk about the concepts of digital media, so we have networked societies. Digital media are networked. Digital media are very persistent, and they're searchable, they are shareable, and they have unknown and unexpected audiences. So you don't know if you've posted something and your profile is public and something goes viral. So you don't know that who is an unexpected audience that you have today. So digital media experiences, they are real, but they don't always feel real. Because we don't feel them real sometimes. So how to respond and how to behave when using these digital media, it is influenced by the architecture of the platforms also. So there are different platforms, and different platforms have different sort of biases, different assumptions. They might reflect, they might not reflect. These biases could be from the creators, from the owners. So as media educators, what we need to do is we need to foster the digital literacy in the classroom. So many teachers are using technology in their classrooms to support different learning styles and to engage the students. But what is missing are the guidelines to help them to do this in a way that promote innovative thinking and collaborative work, or they promote ethical practices and they strengthen their own professional development. So I make sure that when the new media paper is taught, I make sure that they also learn cyber security, digital security. So they have workshops on different aspects of media literacy, as well as different aspects of the ethical usage for the digital media. What we should do as media educators is that we should provide the students with authentic learning opportunities that are enhanced through a technological tools. And we should focus teacher training also on how to use that technology, or enhance learning and meet curriculum outlines, because we the teachers are in the second category, which Dr. Ujjwala talked. So not all of us are well versed with the technology when it comes to teaching to the students. So we should create reasonable policies, and we should be less restrictive filters in journalism schools especially, so that teachers can better help the students develop and exercise good judgments. And we should bring to our curriculum ethics and empathy also. We should bring privacy and security, community engagement, consumer awareness, and these skills allow students to navigate highly commercialized online environments as well. What are the findings, how verification takes place, whether it is fake news or otherwise when they are writing a story. And the most important is digital health. So digital health skills include managing screen time. You cannot be, 24/7 on your screen. So digital health is also very important, and balancing, basically digital health skills, they include managing screen time and balancing students online and offline lives as well. This though we should also learn, because to maintain a balance between our online and offline classes as well as online and offline lives. So managing online identity issues and dealing with issues related to digital media, body image, sexuality, understanding the difference between healthy and unhealthy online relationships, so on and so forth. Rather, digital literacy can be understood across the curriculums in other subjects also. So it can be introduced at school level also, maybe, starting with English language, arts, social science, everything, all subjects, all curriculums can be, uh, a bit modified. So next, I think I've talked enough about digital literacy, and now let me focus a bit on the media literacy. So media, as all of you know, are powerful forces in our life, whether it's TV or it's newspaper or a magazine or a music or video games in the COVID times. So how they have changed the industry and how they have changed the perceptions, and how they are opinion makers. So to be engaged and critical media as critical media consumers, the students, they need to develop skills and habits of media literacy first, because media literacy is the base. As I tell my students that journalism, reporting is your base. Platform can be any. People are becoming platform agnostic, right? News is more important. So first I teach them how to write news, then only I delve deep into the different platforms of news and how they can prepare themselves for different platforms, but the basics remain the same. So similarly, when we talk about digital literacy, the media literacy is important to understand. And these skills, they can include being able to access media on a basic level, to analyze it in a critical manner, to the ways on certain key concepts, whether it is to evaluate or it is to analyze, or it is to produce the media content. So this process of learning media literacy skills is media education for me, because we all are media educators. So if this process of access of media, how to analyze media, and how to produce and create media content is all about media education. So media education, what is media education? It's a process through which individuals, they become media literate. So we are able to critically understand the nature or the techniques or the impact of media messages and the productions. So media education, it acknowledges and it builds on the positive, creative and, all sort of dimensions of popular culture as well. So it incorporates the production of media texts and critical thinking about media, and tells us how to interact with the students, and what to teach to the students, that who is the audience, who is the owner of this media, what whether these messages are heterogeneous messages or they are homogeneous messages, whether it is media plurality that is there, that is existing there today or not. So how do from whose perspective the story is being told? So how do the unique elements and the codes of specific genre, they affect what we see or what we hear or what we read? And where are the stories that we don't read? Where are they? So why they are not there? So how might different audiences, they interpret the same media production differently? And because media issues are complex and they often sometimes they are contradictory, so the educator's role, the media educator's role, isn't to impart knowledge, but to facilitate the process of inquiry also, because we are teaching journalism students, and journalism students media literacy is the most important. And why we should include it in our curriculums is that it encourages, people to question, to evaluate, to understand, to appreciate, and to learn about popular cultures, to interpret messages, and it teaches them how to become very active and engaged in media as a media consumer. It also helps the youth to understand how media portrayals can influence how we view different groups in society. So it deepens the youth's understanding of diversity, of media plurality, of identity, of hegemony, of heterogeneity of messages or news. Then, of course, personal growth and social developments by exploring the connections between the popular culture, whether it's music or it's fashion or it's a fad or it's a television programming or it's a movie or it's an advertising or it's branding, and what are their attitudes, what is the lifestyle choice, what's the self-image, how you project yourself. So this is also media literacy, how you project yourself on Facebook. It's very different from maybe what you are really. So real life versus real life. And media literacy, what also helps students to critique media representations and teaching them to distinguish between reality and fantasy, as they compare media's violence and real life violence, and media heroes and real life heroes, and media role models and real time role models and expectations. So if you talk about the key concepts of media literacy that we should teach or we should discuss about, is that I'm going back to my point where I started, that media are constructions. So media products are created by individuals and who make very conscious or unconscious choices about what to include, what to leave out, how to present, what all is included. So we have to teach the students who created this media product. What is it? What is the purpose of this media product? What are the assumptions or beliefs do the creators have that are reflected in the content? And students are very smart to read the content, and they will ask you further questions. So audiences, they negotiate meaning, as I said, George Gerbner's model. So the gist is that the meaning of the message is not in the message itself, but it's the result of the negotiation between the message and the receiver. So how audience negotiates meaning. The meaning of any media product is not created solely by its producers, but instead it's a collaboration between them and the audience, how you interpret it. So you might ask your students, how might different people see this media product differently? How does this make you feel? Maybe based on how similar or how different you are from the people portrayed in the media product. Or you can give a message in the class, how do people interpret it differently? And you can have a discussion in the class that how it's actually different. Then media also have commercial implications. So you can basically ask, what is the commercial purpose of this media product or this media house? How, we often discuss, about brand capital, about private treaties. So if a group has a connection with 700, media company or other companies, and they've signed an MOU, so do you think they'll actually ever write against them? Or how the advertising models or the advertising revenue is being redefined. So not taking a penny for an advertisement individually, but taking a percentage, maybe 10% or 20% in the annual profit of that organization. That's brand capital. This is how we're redefining. So media have commercial implications. So how does this influence the content and how it's communicated, whether it is communicated or not, whether the layman understands what is brand capital, what is a private treaty, what is a partnership. And if no commercial purpose can be found, what other purposes might be the media product have, or how do those purposes they influence the content and how it is communicated. Then, media also have social and political implications. So media convey ideologies, they convey ideological messages about values, about power, about authority. So we can teach students to ask who and what is shown in a positive light, what is shown in a negative light. They are smart enough to understand ideologies and why might these people and things be shown this way, who and what is not shown at all, why, and what conclusions might audience draw based on these facts. And of course, each medium has a very unique aesthetic form, and the content of the media depends, on the nature of that medium. Earlier when we used to have.
Madam, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
We have some questions coming in. So.
All right. So I'm just winding up. So just give me 1 minute. So every medium is unique. For example, earlier we used to talk about mass communication. So anything published in the paper, only the masses could read. There was no two-way communication except letters to the editor. But now in the online communication, it has actually taken a U-turn. You have space for interpersonal communication, you have space for group communication, you have space for mass communication. So all the elements are there in one sort of medium. So what techniques does the media product use to get your attention and to communicate its messages, and what are the expectations of the learner? So basically, I will finish with some tips for integrating media literacy in the classrooms. So we should try and make use of all the teachable moments in the class and give the students a chance to create media also. So not just analyze it. So teach about media, not just with media, and make media education about asking questions and not learning answers itself. So we should keep up to date with all the media trends and developments. So with this, I think I'll rest my case here.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, ma'am, for an extremely erudite presentation. It covered, in fact, the entire gamut of media literacy and digital literacy, and can be pretty much an article in a research journal for that matter. And I'm pretty sure that students and teachers who are listening to this discourse would be implementing in their everyday classes for that matter. I'm pretty sure about that. At least I will be implementing it in my class. Thank you so much, madam. Now there are some questions coming in, and there are. And, it's so heartening to see questions coming in from UK. So, I mean, without wasting any more time, let me just read out that question. So there is a question coming in from Lisa Shelby from University of Bath in England. So she asks, talking about digital literacy, how do one take a step ahead and go on preaching about it to a country with a vast population? Because till today, say 60% of the Indian population are all illiterate and does not possess any smart devices. That's a preconceived notion, but I mean, I'm putting the question in front of the August Forum for that matter.
Could you please repeat?
Yeah, so it says, talking about digital literacy, how do one take a step ahead and go on preaching about it to a country with a vast population? I'm pretty sure that she's talking about India, because till today, say 60% of the Indian population are all illiterate and does not possess any smart devices. That's a question from UK, so I'm sure there's a lot of preconceived notions. So anybody in the August panel can take this question.
Yeah, first of all, as you said, the statistics is not right. And regardless of the literacy, like, writing and reading, being able to read it, people are using. So probably actually the digital device is becoming a basic literacy tool. So those who were away from reading and writing, now they are forced to do it. So that is first thing. And secondly is that regardless of the conventional literacy when it comes to reading and writing, using a device requires a different kind of intelligence and different kind of exposure. So I don't think that's an impediment in India that though people, more people have smartphones than we know, and they are forced to use it, and they are using it quite innovatively also at times. So I don't think it is a problem, but only thing is that we need to make them more aware of how to use it with caution, and how to get the best of it and not get caught into the negative effects of the technology.
Thank you, madam. So there's another question to Professor Dahiya. How can we take action with news stories that are exaggerated, misleading, false, and biased? This is from Pratik Ghosh. He's doing his master's from Calcutta University.
All right. So if you find that something is exaggerated or false, I encourage writing back to the media houses. So, we used to write letters to the editor when we were students. And the good letters were printed, published. And also, sometimes, many people have worked as a journalist. They might agree with me that sometimes the news editor is not, well versed with the fact, whether a factual info, whether an article or a news story, information is actually factual. So we say print media is more credible. Because why? Because we have more time. We have 24 hours to, fact check everything that we write. But in digital media, sometimes you will see that it's not factually correct, it's fake. So I encourage to write back to the particular media house and express yourself, what you feel, and substantiate it with facts. Also, there are many websites which have, started doing this. You can also learn. Google is nowadays having so many workshops on fact checking. Even Facebook is having. So what you can do is you can learn those softwares. They're easy, like Google reverse image or Yandex reverse image, to understand fake news, whether the news is fake or not. On Twitter also there are very softwares which can do that. So what you can do is that you can fact check them, or if you are not able to fact check yourself, check the websites which are doing this job. Like Alt News is one. Pratik Sinha runs it. So that's a small team of 8 people running this fact-checking news. And there is another website called Boom Life. So they are also into fact-checking. So most of the news which circulates as false news, they will just verify it and put a stamp, fake, or they will say this one is real. So you come to know whether this is fake. So you must take up this issue as students, and you must write to respective media houses. You can see Quint, Webcoof. There's so many.
Thank you, madam. There's another question.
And make sure they come out with a corrigendum.
There's one more question. This is a very specific, pointed question. We'll take this question and probably go for the closing remark. This question is to Professor Barve. It says, what is the difference? Where is the difference, and why still many old people can't connect themselves with the digital technology? So I'm repeating the question. Where is the difference, and why still many old people can't connect themselves with the digital technology? This is by Arindam Bhattacharya, MIT University, Noida.
I think the inhibition or the fear of new technology, and the fear of making mistakes, and probably not admitting that they are not good at it and not willing to be students again, are the only things that come in the way of learning the technology. And so that is why others have to come forward and tell them that this is not so all that difficult, and it can be used, because actually the older a person gets, it is a window to the outside world. Probably they need it, or they can use it better than anybody else. So why they don't do it, I don't have a very scientific answer to that actually, but these are the responses that came to my mind. Yes, Urvi.
So adding to what you have said, I feel that the younger generation is born with the iPhones and iPads and laptops in their hands. That's why they don't have any fear of using this technology. And the older generation, it's costly when you buy an iPhone or a laptop for that matter. It is costly. That is why that fear also comes in, that I will not be able to do it. Kuch kharab ho jayega, kuch, I'll not. So this is generation gap. Probably your children, I mean, the next generation would come with everything robotic in the room, suppose. So then you might be in the same category. So it is generation gap, and older people are scared because they do not actually know how to, even post a picture on a Facebook sometimes. And it depends. There are some people who are willing to learn and they adopt, but then they also need some guidance. They'll always be asking their son or their daughter how to do it, and it depends how their sons and daughters respect and respond to their queries. They'll ask 2 times and then they'll feel that, oh, she or he is not responding properly. Third time they will not ask. So there are many factors.
Okay, thank you so much, madam. Now I move over to Professor Chaudhary for his closing remarks. But before he delivers the closing remark, let me just read out one last question that has been addressed to Professor Chaudhary himself. So probably he can take that question and give up the closing remark. The question is, how can we determine the legitimacy of a news story? Over to Professor Chaudhary.
Yeah, thank you. It was a very interesting session, and particularly the case study of older people that Madam Varve has put forth, how they really focus on more on medical and health related searches online, and how the gender disparity in digital access is actually creating obstacles for women to make full utilization of the digital technology, and the challenges of financial transaction. Even I have that, by the way. I have less trust on online the financial transactions for that matter, but though we have to do it in some bits and pieces, but still I'm not comfortable. So these points were very well brought out, and the question of the issue of replicable intervention models for better media and digital learning literacy for the elderly people. This is a significant thing. I think more work can be done on that, more projects can be done, deeper research can be done on that. So took the entire gamut of ML and DL together, entire gamut. I really appreciate media literacy, critically engaged media consumer, creating a critically engaged media consumer in one line she defined, and digital literacy, more about online participation and ethical engagement digitally. This is what she brought, and she differentiated between the two through skills, habits, aesthetics, practices being reasonably different from one to the other. She also raised the question of digital health, managing screen time, and being platform agnostic for the younger people. And she urged upon the academics to foster digital technology in class. Very important points that she brought forth. I would like to say that there is a continuum. Media literacy leading to digital literacy in today's web-dominated communication scenario is a continuum. They may not be actually looked at as different concepts, but one leading to the other. And this is one. And secondly, I do believe that for everyone, from school onwards, let's say class 9, 10 onwards, to any level of higher education, for everyone, certain fundamentals of critical thinking and understanding of what is right media consumption or good media consumption practices, this must be there. So an exposure of media and digital literacy must be there for all, particularly in times of cybersecurity and cyberbullying and all that. On the other hand, the media learners need to learn it much deeper. So basic and advanced courses, which can also go into domain-specific media and digital literacy in journalism, in entertainment, in brand communication, domain-specific for the undergraduate and postgraduate students of media. So there needs to be much deeper. And we have to understand digital is not just another fad. As we know that there is universe, and now there is a talk of metaverse, a different, a virtual, an online universe by itself where all operations will be virtually done, right? What happens, we do not know, but the question, the concept, and the discussion on metaverse has started. Now, on the last question, how do you understand a news story, right or wrong? There are pictures, there are videos that can, and Dr. Dahia has already explained that also, that can be looked at intently to understand who created it, what could have been the purposes, who can be the audiences, are the pictures authentic, the dress. Many a time the vehicle number or a name of a shop in the picture in the some corner, or the dress that the people are wearing, many of these will give away the fact that it is fake. So so there are power of observation is required on one side, and power of technology, reverse imaging and other techniques which Dr. Dahi has spoken about. So other techniques, technological techniques can also be done to understand whether it's false or right, whether it's fake or true. Having said that, a same story can be looked, if it is a common story, same story can be looked up in multiple sources or multiple information portals or newspapers. When you see the same story interpreted in many ways, now you understand the various angles to it. And then you understand that certain newspaper, certain news portal, certain news outlet could have done with a certain bias, and many others had other aspects to put forth. So if truly we want to free ourselves from confirmation bias, from selection bias, from omission bias, then we need to actually diversify our sources of learning, 3 or 4 multiple sources, which would be, and even in today's time, interpretation, right and wrong. Now we look at only one side of the story. If those who are very critical, very liberal, or very left-oriented would look to, let's say, WARE or similar other platforms, and those who are right-oriented would be looking to, let's say, Swarajya or Op India or whatever other platforms are, like First Post and on. So a conscientious journalist or media learner should actually look at both and try to understand the same thing from various perspectives. Then only we can get to the bottom of truth. With this, I will, because time is up, so I'll not take any further example to illustrate the point. But there are self-driven or institution-driven media literacy and digital literacy training is must to make our youth not fall prey to false content. This is a major battle that every education institute has to fight. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Chaudhary. Thank you for your fantastic closing remark. It summed up the session so well. Now, without wasting any more time, I will finish with the vote of thanks. So I take this opportunity to thank Professor Chaudhary for chairing today's session. It was indeed a pleasure to host Dr. Ujjwala Barve and Professor Dr. Survi Dahiya, 2 of the biggest names in the Indian media scape. We thank them from the core of our heart for contributing to the intellectual discourse. I also thank Professor Upendra Padi, the chairman of 5th NMC 2021, for masterfully organizing the event. I also take this opportunity to thank Dr. Anurag Sahu for efficiently and diligently keeping in order this discussion. I also thank all those who worked tirelessly to make this show a design, technology, and content success. Last but not the least, let me thank all those who spared time to attend today's webinar. Knowledge, as they say, never goes waste. I'm sure it was a fruitful experience for them. Hoping to see all of you for the plenary session 3 as well. Have a great day ahead. Thank you.
And thanks to the moderator as well.
Thank you, ma'am.
Indeed, very, very well moderated. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. It was a great time. Yeah.
Thanks.
I feel honored and privileged to welcome all our panel speakers and session chairperson, along with the moderator of the third plenary session of the 5th National Media Conclave. Friends, the third plenary session theme is Media Education for Skilled HR in Media and Knowledge Society. So I welcome the session chairperson, Madam Professor A. Nusarani, former Professor, Department of Communication and Journalism, University of Mysore. Being the patron of the 5th National Media Conclave, Madam is associated with from the beginning since 2017 from our first edition. We are honored to have her guidance, support to make the National Media Conclave a success one. I welcome Madam to this third plenary session of the 5th National Media Conclave. I feel honored and privileged to welcome Professor Dr. Subhas Dhulia, Professor in the Department of Culture and Media Studies, Central University of Rajasthan. In media academics, Professor Dhulia is a very popular figure, and we are privileged to have Professor Dhulia as the session speaker in the third plenary session of our 5th National Media Conclave. I welcome you, sir, to this plenary session. I welcome Professor Dr. B.K. Ravi, currently Professor and Chairman, Department of Communication, Bangalore University, Bangalore. And Professor B.K. Ravi is equally popular in the media academics, and quietly and meaningfully he engaged himself apart from the education in other sectors relating to allied academics and promoting media education in the country. And we are fortunate to have B.K. Ravi with us today as the session speaker. We welcome you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. I also welcome Professor Dr. Abhijit Bora, currently Professor, Department of Mass Communication and Journalism, Tezpur University, Assam. We are very happy to have Professor Bora as the session speaker in the third plenary session today. We welcome you, sir. And now I welcome our moderator of this third plenary session, Madam Bhavana Pathak, Program Coordinator, Department of Mass Communication in Prestige Institute of Management and Research in Indore. And Madam Pathak, Bhavana Pathak is the Honorary Director, Department concerning Project for Media Dictionary, Indian Association of Mass Communication, Delhi. And Madam Pathak is a media educator, Factshala trainer, founder of Media Dictionary YouTube channel, media literacy activist, and professional podcaster and voiceover artist. And Madam Pathak has varieties of experience. Coming to her current profession, that is in academics. Prior to that, she was actively associated with radio as a radio programmer, producer, also worked in various media like print and electronics, she worked in both print, also in electronics media, and apart from that, she engaged herself regarding promoting the media education and carrying forward these activities in various allied ways. And we are very happy to have Madam Bhavana Pathak joined with us as the session moderator. With these words, I welcome all the session speakers, including our session chairperson and the moderator of this session. Once again, thank you all. And now I am over to moderator of this session, Dr. Bhavana Pathak Madam, to moderate this session and carry forward the program ahead. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for this lovely introduction. And I'm really obliged to get this wonderful opportunity to have a discussion on a very relevant issue, which is media education and skill HR in media and knowledge society. And a very good afternoon to one and all present in this National Media Conclave, which is the 5th edition of it, which is organized by IMS. And definitely, I would love to say that this National Media Conclave is Eastern India's biggest academic Mahakumbh, in which media educators, professionals, policymakers, scholars from across the nation basically participate with full zeal. And this is the 3rd India session of day 1, and 2 more days we are going to have such dynamic sessions which will definitely change the landscape of media. And we are going to talk about NEP 2020, media and digital technology, which is very relevant, and it's direly needed to talk on this topic. And media is basically a dynamic field, and it keeps evolving with the time and technology. And as media and technology goes hand in hand, so should media education as well. And that is the reason we are here to discuss on various aspects of NEP 2020, media education and its changing landscape, as well as knowledge society and how we can contribute. So we are going to talk on various aspects of that. And first, I would like to introduce our session chair. And then I would like to introduce our eminent speakers of this session. So our session chair is Dr. N. Usha Rani Ma'am, who is former professor and currently ICSSR Senior Professor Fellow in the Department of Journalism and Mass Communication in the University of Mysore. She is the former founding director of EMMRC Educational Multimedia Research Center, established by the University Grants Commission in the state of Karnataka. She was honored with Lifetime Achievement Award by the Business World Media Group and the prestigious Nadoja Dr. Patil Putappa Press Award for contribution to journalism education. She won ICSSR International Fellowship to undertake research at UN Geneva, Switzerland. She was awarded prestigious American Fulbright Fellowship twice, and which is a rare distinction in India. She was awarded Canadian Advanced Faculty Research Fellowship for conducting research at McGill University, Montreal, Canada. She has won 2 national awards for producing best educational TV documentaries. She has worked on mega and major research projects funded by UGC, few books and many research publications. So we welcome our session chair, Dr. N. Usha Rani Ma'am. We welcome you, ma'am. And now I would like to introduce our eminent speakers who are going to talk on various aspects of NEP and how that is going to contribute in building a knowledge society. So now I would like to introduce our eminent media educator, and he is none other than Professor Subhash Dhulia, sir. So Professor Subhash Dhulia is a distinguished academician, researcher, and educational administrator. He has been the Vice Chancellor of Uttarakhand Open University, Director and Professor of School of Journalism and New Media Studies at IGNOU, Professor and Course Director at Indian Institute of Mass Communication, IIMC Delhi, and Professor of Culture and Media Studies at the Central University of Rajasthan. Sir has over 4 decades of experience in media academics and as a practicing journalist. He has also been the editor of the Communicator and Sanchar Madhyam, which is quarterly research journal in Hindi and English, which is basically initiated by Indian Institute of Mass Communication, IMC Delhi. And before entering into media academics, he worked at the Times of India and Amrit Bazar Patrika group of newspapers on senior editorial position for 13 years. He has been the course director and resource person for Indian Information Service and diploma courses at IIMC. He has also designed and worked as a resource person for specialized courses conducted for Indian Foreign Service, Indian Police Service, and senior army officers. He has designed courses on behalf of Ministry of External Affairs for journalists of Maldives and Afghanistan. He has also been a course director for a month-long training program conducted for journalists from Nepal, sponsored by FES of Germany and associated with training programs conducted by Deutsche Welle, Germany. So on behalf of this National Media Conclave organized by IMS, I welcome you, sir, in this panel discussion. And now I would like to introduce our next eminent speaker, who is none other than Dr. B.K. Ravi, sir. Dr. B.K. Ravi, sir, is professor and chairman, Department of Communication, Bangalore University. He has been into academics for 30 years and a wide research experience he is having. During his academic tenure, he has presented several research papers in India and abroad, including US, Poland, Japan, Morocco, New Zealand, Kenya, Qatar, Thailand, Malaysia, Canada, and China. He has published articles in international research journals, guided 8 students for doctoral research, and he has chaired nearly 14 scientific sessions at international conferences in different countries. Dr. B.K. Ravi was on the scientific committee of the first International Forum on Media and Information Literacy, constituted jointly by UNESCO and University of Critical Analysis, and also presented a paper titled Information Literacy and the Theory of Out of Reach. Professor Dr. Ravi was an invitee to a prestigious international workshop on broadband policy held in 2012 at Washington Ford Foundation and Penn State University. Dr. Ravi is member of editorial board of journals of National Mission for Media Literacy USA, Journal of Mass Communication and Journalism, David Publishing House USA, Academic Research International, Pakistan, Asia, Pacific Journal of Arts, Education and Science, Philippines, member editorial board, Global Media Journal, Canadian edition, member editorial board, Journal of Development and Social Change, and member International Editorial Advisory Board, Media and Communication Review, Lagos State University, Nigeria. He has published 6 books on media, produced more than 25 programs for television and more than 20 programs for radio. So on behalf of National Media Conclave, I welcome you, sir, in this plenary session. Thank you so much, sir. And our next speaker is Dr. Abhijit Bora, sir. And Dr. Abhijit Bora is serving as professor in Mass Communication and Journalism Department of Tejpur University, Assam. Earlier, Dr. Bora had served the Department of Communication and Journalism of Guwahati from 2003 to 9. Prior to joining teaching full-time, Professor Bora served as a journalist for 7 years in print and radio, Information Service Group B in Assam. With interest area in journalism, media writing, science communication, media literacy, Dr. Bora had several research publications and many popular articles in print media, both in English and Assamese, which is his mother tongue also. Professor Bora had visited Ohio University, USA, McGill University, Canada, and Nanyang Technology University on short-term academic exchange visit programs in the past. At present, Dr. Bora is the principal investigator of the consultative project Science and Technology Communication, Popularization, and its extension for Assamese under Vigyan Prasar, Delhi. So I welcome you, sir, in this plenary session. And now I'll request, without taking too much of time, because we are here to listen to eminent speaker and to our session chair on how we can contribute, or how this NEP 2020 is going to bring a change in Indian media education landscape. So I'll request our session chair, Dr. N. Usharani ma'am, to kindly introduce the topic and initiate the discussion. Over to you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Bhavna. I'm audible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, you're audible. Yeah.
Good evening, everybody. At the outset, let me congratulate Professor Upendra Padi and his team, because they have given us a platform, not only to us, but all the media educators, educationists, and media professionals to reflect on the status of media and digital technology in the light of NEP 2020. That is the flagship program of the government. Professor Pati has been consistent in organizing National Media Conclave 2021. This is the 5th year in a row I have been participating in this National Conclave all these years, and I have participated in this intellectual discourse. What has done this conclave to the media educators like me is it has enabled people like us from different parts of the country representing institutions of higher learning to conduct dialogue on the most vital subject of media education at this point of time in history. It's important that we revisit and review and take stock of media education in the country. I'm happy to note that more conferences and conclaves are being held in India to deliberate on media education, because in my 30 years of service, we have attended more conferences abroad than in India. And we used to look forward to the conferences, but now in the last 5 years, there are more conferences, conclaves are happening. I'm extremely happy because it has opened up the dialogue, it has given the platform for all the media educators. Today, I'm very happy and honored to chair this 3rd plenary session. The theme of this session is the media education for skilled HR in media and knowledge society. Friends, I have a distinguished line of speakers today: Professor Subhash Dulia, Dr. Abhijit Bora, and Dr. B.K. Ravi. They represent the premier institutions of media education in the country, and they have come with vast experience. And really, we are going to have a dialogue on this very important aspect of skill-based media education. What is the future for us? And what are the options, opportunities, and challenges we have? I, as the chair of this session, wish to make customary opening remarks to initiate a dialogue on this topic. Today, I must say that media education has an expanded opportunity to explore divergent ideas and perspectives related to emerging technology. Never in the history we were given this kind of opportunity, supported by national education policy that has opened up the dialogue, that has opened up a platform, very vast platform, and wherein we can take stock, revisit, and revamp, retool, reform media education as per the needs and demands of the society and make it more relevant and meaningful. Friends, we should never forget that this is the media education for the millennials. So it is NEP that has prompted us to revisit our courses and curricula. Therefore, this conclave becomes very meaningful and relevant because the very theme is media education and digital technology in the light of NEP 2010. A word about few remarks about NEP. NEP 2020, if you study the document, it is a comprehensive roadmap. It provides a comprehensive roadmap to achieve the goal of meaningful education from preschool to higher education and beyond. And the essence of new policy is it aims to transform life, which I feel perhaps is very ambitious for a country like India. NEP has responded to the challenges posed by digital technology. Not only digital technology, but as a consequence of it, economic growth, eradication of poverty, and it has also focused on achieving gender equality through education. So I feel NEP 2020 is like a mission, which sees education beyond classroom, reimagining the future of students from socio-economic, cultural, political, and technological perspective. And it aims to establish a more equitable, society. This is where it means a lot to media education, more equitable society. You handle media education and training, and can you help establish a more equitable media in a more equitable society is the challenge that we all are facing. As far as NEP is concerned, I feel flexibility is the hallmark of new policy because it says it tries to transform education because it talks about relevance of education. Friends, let me tell you that all these years decades have been talking about the relevance of journalism education to the lives of the people, how employable our students are, and how useful, beneficial our students are to the society. So the education policy also raises a very important question of relevance of education to the lives of the people. So it makes us think whether we should continue to do what we are doing and be done with it, or should we accept radical changes to build a strong future for our students. So we have to accept that change is inevitable to strengthen education in India, as we have to build a knowledge society. So this is also the sub-theme of the conference, that is, we are preparing the media professionals for knowledge society. So let me honestly admit that many studies have pointed out serious lacuna in the existing system of education, and that needs to be addressed without further loss of time. So the major takeaways from the point of view of media education from NEP, I find a few things like multidisciplinary approach, provision for credit transfer, establishment of credit banks. Then the theme of this panel discussion, skill-based education, because there is more emphasis on vocational education in the new policy. Then the multilingualism. So from anglicized education, we have not been able to come out of the effect of anglicized education. All of us in journalism, we were brought up, educated with American books and American curriculum. So anglicized education was more Western than Eastern or more Indian. So today there is an opportunity to localize, to regionalize media education. That makes that is a great opportunity that the policy has provided. So the other the important thing that brings NEP very close to the media education is it treats social sciences and humanities on par with science, besides making provision for promotion of art, culture, and environment. Because whenever we submitted projects, the importance was given more to science projects than the humanities and social sciences. I have seen UPE where we got the mega project and on par with science. That is where you have to fight and take it. But today the policy has given us an opportunity to treat social sciences and humanities on par with science. Today, we all agree as media educators, we find a gap, friends, between industry and academy. And media education
Ma'am, yes, your mic is muted. Yeah.
We are not able to. Media education, I said, is suffering from ambiguity of purpose. Excuse me. Sorry for that interruption. Ambiguity. I was telling that media education suffer from ambiguity of purpose because we produce students both for academics as well as for media industry. So far, according to me, we have not been able to evolve a common pedagogy integrating academia and industry in skilled and conceptual courses. We have not been able to bridge the gap. So there lies the most important roadblock, where we have not been able to evolve a full-fledged, constructive, skill-based media program. So what is the level of knowledge requirement, and what is the suitable pedagogy for media profession are the questions that we need to answer and we need to work out, but in collaboration with the industry. I am talking about integration because we need to balance between shaping young minds and skill acquisition. You are trying to help students pick up skills, but you are also shaping their mind. So we need to work out a balance. We need to bridge the proverbial void. They say void can never be filled, but we need to fill this void. And we have to prepare new generation of media professionals to new media newsrooms, where honestly, their teachers never worked in those newsrooms. The present newsrooms are totally different, and their teachers never worked. And let us accept it, and let us avoid the bias and the stereotypes in the training, in the education that we impart in the class. Friends, the most important thing is skill-based education is human resources, the infrastructure. It depends because today human resources depends on digital tools. And so there is a strong demand for technology in media education. I have seen in many conferences, the moment we talk about technology, it happened during the television time. You talk about video studio, you talk about audio studio, they say it is overwhelming, technology heavy. You know, we need to bring in analytical skills, critical skills, creative skills. So I am speaking with a caveat, you know, it includes, if I say technology skills, we need technology skills. Yes, we cannot brush aside technology skills, and we need, it is comprehensive technology skills that we are talking about. It includes analytical skills. It ought to include analytical skills, critical skills, and creative skills, because we are talking about journalistic skills. Yeah. So integration, let us not relegate technology on presuming that that technology skills ignore other skills like creative skills, critical skills, and analytical skills. If you are analyzing any news story, you have to bring in all the elements of the analytical skills. And until and unless that is done, a student will never pick up journalistic skills. So let us first distinguish between technology skills and the journalistic skills. So today the new narrative in media education is 3 types of literacy, as all of you know. But I would like to emphasize on one more, that is a news literacy intervention. And in this today's panel discussion, we are going to hear the experts speak on all kinds of literacy and the skills that are required, and the technical skill courses, how it can be taught by overcoming stereotypical techniques that we are all used to. So there is need to introduce media skills pedagogy, and it should be central to media courses, is what I feel at this point of time. And I end my the chair remarks with the statement that we should shift from creating mere technical skills to creating media products which are equitable media products, equitable media products which are inclusive and representative. So we have to prepare critically media literate media practitioners, but we cannot ignore skills that widens the gap, that widens the gap between the industry and the academia. With these remarks, opening remarks, I allow the panel to take over and make the presentation. Bhavna.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for this wonderful, basically the introduction of the topic and introducing it in a very well mannered. Like, yes, if we want to basically enhance the qualities of the journalists or the media students, we have to make them critical media literate professionals. So now I'll request Professor Subhash Dhulia sir to kindly share his opinion and on this topic of this plenary session on media education for skilled HR in media and knowledge society. Over to you, sir.
Thank you for kind introduction first. Honorable Chairman, it's my privilege to join esteemed fellow panelists for this interaction. My sincere thanks to Professor Padi and Bhavna for providing this opportunity. When we talk about the new education policy, new education policy is very, very comprehensive document. And in fact, right from the independence, we have been excellent in drafting documents. But when it comes to the question of implementation, then our track record has not been so outstanding. I think the experts who drafted new education policy is a wonderful document, of course, and provide a roadmap for the future of the education in the country. But it's but natural that people who draft the documents, at times they do not consider the implementability of the document. It's a responsibility of the educators, I think, that to make that document implementable. How to interpret the various provisions of documents, various clauses. First, I'll focus on this debate on schools and vocational training imparting skills. When you see education is of a major 3 plus of education are, in addition to education, training and research. So it has to be a rational combination of education, training and research. In this context, I would like to point out that what is an university, of course? How an university is different from IITs, IMS, polytechnics. So when we discuss imparting the skills in media education, we have to keep that perspective in mind. That as an university, we are also institution of research and higher learning. We are not IITs, we are not IIM. So first is that means imparting knowledge is very, very important. And then combining that knowledge with the skills that are required. But I think over-emphasis on training and less emphasis on education will be a little bit not a right approach. So that's one point that I would like to mention. Then when we talk about the new age journalist, you see some of the core concepts of traditional journalists are bound to be the same, like language skills, strong knowledge base will always stay the way it was. But in this scenario, I think it's a combination of intellectual skills, professional skills, technical skills, of course, and most important is the creative skills. Creative skills are now very, very important because technology can do so many things. But then what is the role of a human in this phase? The conflict between the machine and the man, where we stand. Machine can deliver so many things. Computer technology backed by AI and algorithm can deliver so many things. So it's where I think creative skills are very, very important. So in education in general and media education in particular, it's important that we have to combine all these four categories of the skills. And at this juncture, I think intellectual skills have become more important. So that is something that when we think about the skills, we should think about the combination of all these four skills. Not just making them just a small part of the big machine of the media industry by training them to perform one particular act repeatedly. That's what training is. That you train a person to perform certain jobs repeatedly. So training is something which is not creative training in itself in isolation. So it has to be a combination of all these things. Now, when we say new age journalist, I think the biggest challenge of the new age journalist is we have huge amount of information at our disposal now. We live in the age of information overload. Now, navigating the information through the web, evaluating the information in terms of its authenticity and its source and credibility has become a very, very big challenge now. So this is something where when we are collecting huge amount of information, how to process that information, how to analyze that information, and how to present that information, what we call the news format, where the professional skills are required. But first phase is that you need intellectual skills to gather that information, to process that information, and to place that information, to add some meanings to that information, and place that information in some perspective. That's why one is a journalist or a media professional. So that's, I think, one thing that these skills are required, that how you evaluate the information. And today you see we are living in the age that there is a Twitter or Facebook driven journalism. In fact, there's a Twitter and Facebook driven politics also. Because most of the politicians now, they post a Twitter and that makes a news. So media is becoming largely dependent on these social media platforms also. And that is posing a danger of all kind of fake news, disinformation, misinformation, half-truth. Because now it is being mentioned that we are living in post-truth era. So truth should not become a casualty. And there are all dangers that in this age of information overload, there is always a danger that we may not be truthful when we are reporting something. So in this context, it's important that when we have huge amount of data at our disposal, we are living in a data-driven society. How to convert data into information? Because when we have data, then we have to convert that into information. So we process the data, we analyze the data, we add some context to it, and then present that data to the common people. So this is where, when we think about this data-driven journalism, then different kinds of skills are required. So that's another point that I would like to mention, because in this age, there is a great amount of manipulating the information, and totally different skills are required to become a media professional in this age. On the one hand, we have so many choices. We have the choices, we have numerous options of the delivery of content. We have numerous options for developing the content. But the point is that today the biggest crisis is the content. Creating content has become the more challenging now. In fact, if we look at the news media, then what we find is that there is a great amount of convergence of the content also. They're saying that you keep on changing the channel and you are watching the same. Now, for example, in Delhi, once upon a time, Bhavna, just tell me when the time is, just you check the time.
Sure, sir.
Once,
We have plenty of time.
yeah, once upon a time in Delhi, when we were a young journalist, there were some 5-6 newspapers. Times of India used to be considered a centrist newspaper. Hindustan Times, pro-government, whichever party is in power. Statesman was extremely rightist newspaper, strong support of free market economy. There was National Herald, which was owned by the Congress Party. Motherland was owned by the then Johnson. There was Patriot, a strong left-leaning newspaper. So Delhi media landscape was very diverse and very plural. There were 5-6 newspapers. They used to project a different perspective on any issue in hand. Then came the Times of India. Times of India indulged in the price war. They reduced the price to 1 rupee or something like that. Well, I will not go into detail of that, but what the outcome was, in very short span of time, Times of India and Hindustan Times were controlling almost 90% of the print media audience in Delhi. And all these other newspapers, having a different varying political perspective, they almost become insignificant or cease to exist. So this trend, I think, is the most dangerous in the digital age, when the plurality and diversity of media is the biggest casualty. We have multiple sources of information, but the kind of information that we are receiving, the plurality and diversity somewhere is totally missing. We have choices, but at the times, something like that when you go to the consumer market, you have so many products that are on offer. But in terms, there is no real choice because all the products are almost the same. So that's where I think in the technology-driven era, we have to take these factors into consideration. Then I would say that research is very, very important. And we keep on talking about, that means as if media education is something inferior to the media industry. It's not so. In fact, media academics is the most powerful monitoring mechanism of the news media. You take the Western countries, media academics plays very, very important in influencing media programmings. They point out that where you stand today to tell the media, what is your credibility, what is your believability, what is the perception of common people as far as media programming is concerned. We don't have any of that kind of study in our country as of now. So that's something that we have to think about, that media academics is something which has to keep an eye, which is a watchdog of watchdog, I think so. So it's perfectly okay that we must have better linkages with the media industry. But again, the kind of media industry that we have, we do deal in academic situation, we deal with the core concepts, we deal with the ideals of the journalism. So that kind of a mismatch is bound to take place. And the way the media is shaped today, our news industry is shaped today, I think research is very, very important, that academics must work as a monitor of the news media and its programming by pointing out that where they stand as of now. I think I'll just last point that when technology is dominating, now technology is creating so many things. A technologist is creating a software or AI or algorithm, but technologist is not aware of its political, economic, social, and cultural implications. There is a domain of the social sciences. There is a domain of the media research, media education, and we should I think meet that challenge and work in those directions. That what is the role of the technology, and what is the role of the social sciences. So social sciences research, specifically the media research, needs to be strengthened. So well, that's I will stop here. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for such enlightening points, and very well said that this NEP 2020 is very comprehensive, and much burden is on the shoulders of media educators, like how we will balance between the skills and imparting the knowledge. And very nicely you said, sir, that you're just surfing several channels but watching the same. So plurality and diversity is missing. And when we talk about the knowledge society, so the four basic pillars of knowledge society is freedom of speech and expression, and then cultural diversity should be there. Third one is information accessibility, and we can say information democracy. And the fourth one is quality media education. So thank you so much, sir. Now I will request Dr. B.K. Ravi, sir, to kindly share his perspective and his point of view on this topic of today's discussion.
Good evening, everybody. Greetings from the Department of Communication, Bangalore University. Honorable Chairman and all the respected panelists and my dear participants and delegates of this conference. Firstly, I would like to congratulate Professor Padi and his team for very successfully organizing this fifth National Media Conclave. Even last year also, we had an opportunity to participate. So this is a very significant conference because India, we are celebrating almost the centenary celebrations of media education is over. We are in the 101st year of media education in this country. So this conference is really very significant. So basically, the presentation, I think two renowned scholars have already made their presentation, Professor Usharani and Professor Subhash Dulia. They have made some of the points very clear. The media education for skilled human resource in media and knowledge society. This is a very important topic that needs to be discussed. We can divide this into three parts. One is the media education, skilled human resource in media, and knowledge society. See, if you amalgamate all the three, I think it's a very interesting topic that needs to be discussed. So now, if you just look into the earlier era of more than 2 or 3 decades ago, media education is getting more and more importance. There is no doubt about it, especially after the announcement of a new education policy. I think media education, I think, is benefited to some extent so far as our new education policy is concerned. With the basic points which are highlighted in our new education policy, which is very flexible, student friendly, and there is a lot of scope for skill-based training, and there is a lot of independence for a student. See, in earlier days, it was very difficult for a student to shift from one university to another. It was very difficult for any of our student to discontinue the studies and all those things. So new education policy, it is very flexible, is students friendly. And I think I should recall the contribution of our Department of Communication, Bangalore University. When we started the department, we had two independent courses, just like that. We had Bachelor of Science in Communication and Master of Science in Communication. Anybody after their graduation, if they wanted to leave the course immediately, they could have shifted to the media industry after completing their Bachelor of Science in Communication, which was equivalent to the postgraduate diploma course. And people who were interested in research, and if they were very serious to join the academia, they used to join our Master of Science in Communication. There a lot of emphasis and other things on research and all those things were there. So we had implemented somewhere in the 70s from Bangalore University. So new education policy is really a very encouraging factor so far as strengthening the media education is concerned, because media education, they're multidisciplinary. I think definitely we can definitely contribute. So that's one thing. Second thing is, according to me, still media education in this country needs to be strengthened to the maximum extent. As Professor Usharani said, there is a lot of gap between the media industry and the academia, even today. Though we have organized quite a lot of roundtable conferences, quite a lot of seminars and conferences where media professionals also come, and there is a lot of discussion. Even today, most of the time, media industry, they do not understand the requirements, the problems, the limitations of the academicians. And as academicians, we most of the time we underestimate or overestimate the requirement of the Indian media industry. So that's why there is a requirement, because in earlier days, a practicing journalist, if he is converted as an academician, or a raw graduate getting a postgraduate degree and just jumping to media education, these are quite a lot of things which needs to be very seriously thought about. So according to me, there should be a very good relationship, and there should be understanding between the academia and the media industry. We should know their requirement. They also should know our difficulties. See, only then we can strengthen what is called the Indian media industry. As long as Indian media industry is strong, the field of media education will be very strong. And as long as media education is strong, Indian media industry will be strong. All of us should never forget. And whenever we talk of the skilled human resource in media, I think, according to me, most of the time, because of quite a lot of factors which need to be very seriously discussed, according to me, most of the time we also talk of technology, new technology, the positive aspects, negative aspects. So we have the concept of social media, growth of social media, disinformation concept, or convergence, and all these things are okay. But according to me, technology, most of the time, it's glorified to the maximum extent. And according to me, mere presence of technology will not complete the process of communication. Most of us, I really do not know, whenever they make their presentation, they go on glorifying technology. Oh, everything has happened. Now, the reach and all those things needs to be very seriously researched by an academician. A researcher should sit and see, because glorifying technology, most of the time we may have to relook into it, redefining the role of technology, because whenever we talk of skilled human resource, I think Madam made a very important point about the technology as well as the creativity or your critical thinking. Or are we concentrating more on the content, or are we concentrating more only on technology? In some of the universities, most of the time what we do, we introduce a postgraduate course, and where we teach them technology. I am not against teaching technology. As a student, they should learn technology, and they should have a, we should also try to see to it, his creativity is strengthened. He should have a critical thinking. We have to support his knowledge base. He should enrich his language. He should enrich his vocabulary. He should know current affairs should be in his fingertips. But most of the time, what happens is we give him more and more of technology, and just to prepare a cameraman, I don't think a post-graduation degree is required, and most of the time. So it should be multi-talented, and they should know all these things. And whenever we talk of content, whenever we talk of presentation, whenever we talk of the language, and there are quite a lot of things which needs to be very seriously discussed. The amalgamation of technology along with the creativity, along with the knowledge, will definitely strengthen media education. And most of the time what happens is only glorifying technology. Most of our academicians think that just the presence of your technology will solve all your problems. No, even I may have a mobile, but what is the percentage of useful calls I get? What is the percentage of messages I get? And all these things needs to be very seriously looked into, and redefining the content of media, whether it may be print or television or radio, even in the new media, we may have to redefine quite a lot of things on these lines. And the contribution of media to the knowledge society. See, most of us, though we prepare excellent and very talented students, and it's only the media which can definitely contribute, because there is a lot of difference between dissemination of information and giving knowledge. See, dissemination of information, you can receive the information, but knowledge you have to acquire. And media is the major resource of knowledge, knowledge society. We have quite a lot of contribution. Most of us, a layman, most of the time they do not know the contribution of media to their knowledge. At every point of time, you have the presence of media. At every point of time, not only information, even knowledge is also disseminated through media, but most of our laymen, they don't understand. See what has happened, especially after the commercialization and privatization of Indian media industry in this country. Most of the time, I think I call it as era of experimentation, because they have to survive, they have to live. Our TV channel should survive, our newspaper should survive. And what has happened to the reading habits? Where exactly is the advertising sector heading towards? What is happening to the public relations and corporate communications? Where exactly are we working on our communication research? There are quite a lot of factors which needs to be very seriously thought about, because even after COVID-19, according to me, Indian media industry has suffered a lot. According to the data, more than 40 to 45% of the journalists, media professionals have lost their jobs, and even today we do not know the percentage of circulation of newspapers. So in this situation, when TV channels are struggling hard to get TRP, newspapers, they want their newspapers to be circulated, and all our e-papers, and a new trend has come. But in this crisis also, if we can strengthen our students with not only the technology, with all the creativity and all other factors, and which will definitely contribute to the knowledge society. So media has that potential. Whenever we and most of the time, it is not only the negative factors on the news channels, it's also positive factors are also there, but we may have to look into all these things. So if you just look into media education, see, many times a lot of our media professionals will question us, why media education? See, it is a fact that it is multidisciplinary. A journalism postgraduate or a non-journalism postgraduate, also can do very well. There is no doubt about it. If he has a excellent language, if he has a very good knowledge in current affairs. But still, why media education? What is its contribution for media education? Why media education is because a student of media education will know the basics. He will know, we will teach them the communication theories. We will teach them the international communication. We will teach them business communication. We will teach them research. We will teach them do's and don'ts. We will teach them what is called the social responsibility theory. Because whenever I see quite a lot of people very highly qualified in marketing, they always say it's only, sir, it's marketing, sir, it's only TRP rating. Yeah, I don't disagree with them. TRP rating is required. As a communicator, what to give, when to give, how to give, whom to give. These are some of the basic questions that needs to be answered, because marketability is also required, whereas your social responsibility is also required. The TRP rating is also required, and good communication concepts are also required. But why media becomes very, very important? Why media education should strengthen Indian media industries? Because it's only the healthy media which can develop a healthy society in especially a multicultural, multilingual country like India. It is very, very important. Media has the capability of setting the trend. People believe media. We enjoy the credibility of the population. So it's the responsibility of the people working in media education. We have to enlighten the society. We have to enlighten the professionals in the media industry. And we have to always talk of the social responsibility. Most of the time, we underestimate the performance of public service media with the commercial media. See, we also want our media to survive. They have to make profit, but profit at what cost is a basic question that needs to be answered. At any point of time, we should never forget the social responsibility theory. If we forget social responsibility theory, and if you go on dumping whatever we want, it will have a very negative impact on the society. That is a very, very important concept which we may have to very seriously sit and relook into. So I think it is high time where even the new education policy is so flexible, where you have quite a lot of opportunity for our students, because the open elective, because in Karnataka, we have almost implemented the new education policy. I think in the country, Karnataka was one of the first states to implement a new education policy. But even at the undergraduate level, when we have started our open electives, one very good factor, very good point so far as new education policies, we have started introducing what is called the open electives. Any student from any fraternity, any student from any background can come and study our subjects, and our students can also study other subjects. So there is a lot of demand for a subject like media and society, lot of demand for writing for media, photojournalism. Hundreds of students, they are interested to take up quite a lot of our media related subjects. So that's at the undergraduate level. We have already started our undergraduate courses, our integrated degree program, even in our Bangalore University and also in different universities of our state in Karnataka. So I am extremely happy where, and we also have introduced what is called the social responsibility of media also at before they finish their graduation. If they're interested, they can take one paper on the open elective. So there is an advantage we have, and I am really happy to share with you that hundreds of students, they want to study photojournalism, they want to study writing for media, they want to study media and society, and they want to study public relations, advertising, and so it is a new trend that is happening. So NEP can come as a boon to the media education, subject to condition. As academicians, we have to sit together with the professionals and looking into the requirements of media, because media professionals are they are suffering like anything. So we may have to contribute for the growth of Indian media industry. As academicians, we have the sole responsibility of strengthening the Indian media industry. Even the media professionals should come to our support. Only then we will definitely survive. And at any point of time, we should never forget that it's only the healthy media in a country like India can support and serve, support and develop a healthy society in this country. Only the healthy media. If the media is not perfect, if they lacunize more, we may have to suffer because we have quite a lot of other issues. So with these things and stressing the importance of social responsibility theory, I think I will end my presentation, and thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you so much, sir. Very well said that only the healthy media can contribute, for a healthy society and knowledge society, and media has a lot of potential towards the knowledge society. And rather than glorifying the technology, there should be amalgamation between the technology and the knowledge, analytical skill, critical skills, and creative skills as well. Thank you so much. Now I would like to invite Dr. Abhijit Bora sir to kindly share his perspective and views. Dr. Abhijit Bora sir.
Well, good afternoon, sirs and madam. It's a big privilege, and I feel really greatly honored to be a part of such a distinguished and esteemed panel. Right? Both the earlier speakers as well as the chairman, chair has already spoken about quite a few important aspects. My things which I'll be speaking will be basically my wish list in regard to media education for the coming days, and which I used to feel earlier. Right? First of all, this program NMC5 is coming at a very opportune moment. There is a tri-junction of 100 years of media education. My voice is okay? Is there any?
You are very much audible. Yes, sir.
Yes. There is no echo, I believe. Okay.
A bit of.
It's probably just a minute.
Yes, sir. A bit off.
Yeah. The 100 years of media education, or 101, you can say, and national education policy has come up at this stage, and the post-COVID, the FICCI and EY Indian Media and Entertainment Industry Report for 2021 in March, which was published, has again pointed out that there will be almost 25% increase, 25 or 21% increase in the digital and online gaming, as well as other areas of mass media in the current session, and the combined annual growth rate will be quite high in the next few years. Okay. Then again, there is another issue. India is a young country now. Probably right now we are having the highest number of youths in the country, and by 2030, I think we'll be having the highest number of maximum amount of number of working people in the entire world. Now, the question is how to prepare media persons for taking up these positions as offered. I mean, as pointed out or forecast by FICCI, new media in a new light report, etc. Fine. And again, how to, in keeping with new education policy, how do we restructure or how do we realign our media education? First of all, I would like to speak about only a few of my observations and feelings. One is, Usarani Madam has already pointed out about research, and earlier speakers have also spoken about intellectual input into technology, technology as well as intellectual inputs into media education, right? Like any other natural field. Now, I personally feel that if we can, from the beginning onwards, or when a program is started at undergraduate or postgraduate level, if from second semester or first, preferably from second semester, if we can bifurcate or if we can segregate research orientation as well as job orientation, practical, I mean, people who would like to go to the field and people who would like to invest themselves in research, both basic research and applied research. Okay. So that might be a good idea, I believe. And one thing I have seen is in the appointment of our teachers, especially in government organizations, both state as well as central ones. I personally feel that there is a slight tilt towards more academic orientation. And I believe that people with field experiences or working experiences may not be getting that kind of preference enough for a job. But I believe it should be more balanced in future. Then again, as we see, every year, every 3 months, 4 months, things are changing. Technology as well as new skills as well as other areas, intellectual areas. So, and industry itself is changing. Now, even after a person joins a job as an assistant professor or at any level, can there be a provision, say about in 2-3 years, that person can be, that academician or the teacher can be sent to a particular industry for a 3 months, 2 months position, which might be, if not sufficient, at least it will give him or her some idea about the new things which have already come into the media. As you might be knowing, we have refresher courses, orientation courses, or now it is short-term professional development courses also. But I believe a full-time means for a short period, say 2 months, 3 months, secondment to the industry might be a good idea, like refresher courses or orientation courses. Okay. So that will give better crispness and innovativeness to the, I mean, I expect it will give a better crispness and innovativeness to the teacher while again coming back to the classroom. There is a scope for implementing or experimenting with the aspect for 1 or 2 years initially, and then maybe it can be continued if it is found effective. Then again, industry academia interface we have been speaking about for so many years, but ultimately it comes to just a few lectures. Usually it comes to just a few lectures from practitioners from the field, and or maybe 1 or 2 visits to the field. But I believe industry bodies like Broadcast Research, Broadcast Media Council, or any other such professional body like FICCI or SSM, or I think there is another major one. Can we have a collaborative programs with them? Robi sir has also spoken about that, how the industry should be able to know what we are doing, and we should know what the industry wants. I mean, it should be a mutually beneficial situation. Of course, for industry, profit will be a major risk, but at least, but again, how much profit one would like to make. So industry has to give some inputs to us, and vice versa. Academicians also need to give new ideas to them. I think if it can become a reality in future, I believe there will be a good amount of preparation of proper human resources for manning the industry in future, in the coming days. Again, no system or no technology is either good or bad, but it is up to how the people who are using it are utilizing it for a proper cause or for a, I mean, not so proper cause. Okay. Then again, new education policy is very much about flexibility in different program syllabi, etc., etc. And so, can we? I mean, the credit bank system and credit transfer system is also there. Can we think of allowing our students, say, one student completes one semester or 2 semesters in our institute, learning a particular trade or particular industry, I mean, particular area, then he may be allowed, or he should be encouraged or impressed to go to some other discipline, under interdisciplinary studies, say, for example, science communication, or communication for even social sciences, humanities. Our students, media students, will be more suited for that. Professional communicators. In fact, including science as, I mean, both social sciences and humanities and pure sciences, we don't see a lot of people, or I mean, we usually don't see a policy of treating them, I mean, teaching them how to communicate their findings, right? So that is why in our university in department, we have started 2 courses on science communication. I think few other universities have also started in our country. But I believe, in keeping with new education policies, preferences, or ideas, this might be a good idea, not only science communication for pure sciences people, even for humanities and social sciences. A kind of professional communicators will be able to communicate those research findings, which will be able to help the common people in uplift of their life in a language which the common people will be able to understand. So this is one thing, and again, I have spoken about the collaboration, or I mean, the relationship which can be built with the industry, and slowly or gradually and steadily, we should push for making at least the basic minimum media education a compulsory qualification for joining various jobs in the media. Okay, and again, we can design our programs in a modular system. In fact, in my university, we have not done it yet. Of course, just 1 or 2 in the departments from not my department. Modular, I mean, suppose somebody wants to go to the profession just as a technician, or just as a cameraman, just as a radio operator. He should be able to drop out after 6 months of training, or 1 year, 2 semesters of training. Then if in future he wants to come back, he or she can be allowed lateral entry in a period of, I think, within 2-3 years, maybe. Right? That might help us to become more popular with the people. Of course, trying to get popular is not a solution, but at least it might give a good professional opportunity to our upcoming young generations who would like to go for media. And if we have to believe this FICCI EY study, There's so much of lots of software media contents which need to be made in the coming days. So if we can think of them, these people to man those vacancies, that will be a great service to the society. Again, in addition to thinking of upcoming youngsters or students who would be coming to our industry, to our institution, can we also think of those people who are already in the media, who do not have a proper qualification in the media, formal qualification in the media? Can we also think of something for their interest? Of course, today we do have correspondence courses, or what is called distance education correspondence courses, open and distance learning programs. It's high time we take a assessment, we make an assessment how much of those are actually being so productive or not. Okay, and this is more or less what I have to say in this regard. Well, our yesterday only, I have read an article in Business Today, is Business Today's web version, that one not-for-profit group has forecast, given a research finding that the education and skills market of the country is going to be double this current decade, from $180 billion to, in 2020, to US dollars 313 billion by 2030. So again, another thing is, I have spoken about the FICCI report. Now, where are the jobs? Do we see a major advertisement campaign, or do we see so many advertisements in the media for such jobs? But they are there, and we have to teach them, we have to tell our students how to look for those jobs. Then again, I would like to conclude with one thing. We are always, technology has always fascinated us or mesmerized us. But again, how are we actually using technology? Say, for example, because of Corona, we have to go with times. Because of Corona, online education system was the only alternative available to us. But we all know how much it is actually practical as well as productive or meaningful, especially in programs like ours, where hand-holding or face-to-face interaction is of such an important activity. Fine. So thank you very much. This was all I had to say. This was my wish list, actually. I don't know how you look at it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. You really gave a very good suggestion. In fact, that can we have a collaboration with the, with FICCI and SHM of,
any such organization.
Yes, collaboration between the academia and the industry, so that we can have a really good thing to come out. Now I'll request our session chair, Dr. Anusha Rani ma'am, to kindly give her concluding remark on today's third plenary session, the discussion we had. And before that, there is a question. That question is from one of the students from Calcutta University, and question is for Dr. Ravi sir, and he is asking a question that for media students who aspire to be a skilled HR, what tips would you like to give them, sir? Ravi sir.
Student of media studies, if he wants to be a very skilled human resource, first and foremost thing is he should have command over his language, the first and foremost thing. And most of the time, our younger generation, what they do, they use what is called the mobile language. Instead of numerical 2, they use TO2, TWO2. So if you Definitely, if you have command over the language, that is the first and foremost thing. Second thing is you should have the curiosity to know. You should have the curiosity to understand, and you should acquire quite a lot of knowledge. You have to read quite a lot, and if you really want to be a successful professional in media, you should be very active, very alert, and no question of postponing anything. So in media, you should be very alert, any student for that matter should, it is not like keeping anything pending, because we race against the time. So your knowledge, your current affairs in your fingertips, and your vast reading and all those things will definitely, along with that, you should also know the technology. It's not that total technology, but at least you should know using the technology as well as your knowledge. The amalgamation of these two will definitely get you an excellent placement. There is no doubt about it.
Thank you so much, sir. Now I request our session chair to kindly conclude the session and give her concluding remark. Over to you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you, Bhavna, for excellently moderating the session. And I thank the panelists, distinguished speakers for presenting valuable input to strengthen media education from the perspective of skill-based education. I have taken each session gives us an opportunity to initiate a dialogue on an issue, and we continue the dialogue from one platform to another. And in the process, we learn and we gain so much of information about the trends that are happening, the perspectives that are happening in media education. This is a panel where it was focused on the skill-based education, media education. As a result, we had panelists who gave different perspectives, who examined the subject from different perspectives. Professor Subhash Dulia, Professor B.K. Ravi, and Professor Bora all unanimously agreed on one issue, that we should not run behind technology. Technology is overwhelming, it should not, dominate us. It should not overtake us. And we have to treat technology with caution. So technology is as important as anything else, because in the next 5 years, you are going to have a different generation of students sitting in your class. In my class, before I retired, my students used to open their laptop and Google whatever I used to say. So I used to be mentally prepared and help them learn better, go prepared, because they Google today laptop is outdated and they have mobile, and you cannot ban mobile in the classroom, and they use mobile, and the chip has transformed. But all three experts have expressed unanimously that you have to treat technology with caution, and we're very happy to know that all of you are researchers, serious researchers, and say that this research outputs, whatever you treat, if there is empirical evidence in whatever hypothesis statements that we presume, let there be research, let us as academia, we have a mandate, we have been given a mandate, use technology. Society is using technology. You cannot prevent society from not using the technology. You cannot prevent students from using the technology. Students come to your class with a lot of expectations about technology. They would like to know what resources you have, what softwares you have, what studios you have, and what type of teachers you have. Okay, but we should not forget that research component in journalism education is what makes journalism education very, very different. So and Professor Subhash Dhulia said that role of technology in social sciences. It needs proper insight, and we need to reflect more on this. And all of us have been researchers, but the more we research, the more we have learned, and more we have been critics of Western methods of research, Western models of theory. So let us come to the new media theories. If there are new media, let us examine critical studies of new media, and let us examine technology from these perspectives. But there was one agreement in the panel about collaborating with the industry. You cannot deny that you have to increase the employability of your students. Students, after all, come to you and they seek jobs, and you need to increase their employability. And for that, we need to collaborate with the industry. So yeah, all three of you said that besides, it's important that we collaborate with the media institutions. And Ravi was, and Professor Bora was with Bora, and both Ravi come from the industry, and even Professor Subhash Dhulia come from the industry. All three of you have rich in the professional experience. What better panel we could have had, but for three of you having a rich combination of both industry and the academic experience. So you have brought in a lot of your professional experience to the table, and you say that technology should be amalgamated with other types of skills, like critical skills, analytical skills. How can you analyze farmers' agitation without analytical skills? And without the analytical mind, you cannot develop news literacy. So this is the age of headline literacy, and breaking news. But let us talk about the analytical part of it. And our job is to train students to be potential enough to analyze news, And so the quality we need to improve. We use technology, but we use with caution, but we use with a purpose. There should not be any ambiguity in this purpose. Our purpose is to make quality journalists, quality media professionals, and who value freedom, who value democracy, who value equality, who value freedom of speech, So these are the values. You cannot just forget the value just because we have the technology, because the society is consuming a lot of technology, and nobody can prevent the flood. And so it is, and Professor Ravi said NEP is a boon. Yes, I agree with him. In Karnataka, it has definitely taken on a very bright note. And already we have open electives, and there is a growing demand for journalism courses. And there is also demand for introducing journalism at the school, higher secondary school level. So I agree with the Professor B.K. Ravi and other panelists who said that healthy media, this is very important. I would like to draw the attention here to the judgment of the apex court, the judicial pronouncement, let me say, not the judgment, pronouncement on in one of the recent proceedings, where the Supreme Court said that there is more pollution from the media than the pollution created by the environment. That speaks volumes about the kind of, the vulgar display of technological digital tools to the extent of destroying the truth. And no doubt, truth has many languages, and the media is destroying them. But we in the classroom, we have to maintain the sanctity of the truth. Yes, technology is necessary, absolutely necessary. But we, as Professor Subhash Dhulia said, we have to use with caution. If you forget that caution, then we are going to commit the same mistake, a blunder, not just a mistake, and also sin, and by neglecting the society, we'll be doing great injustice to the society. And therefore, we need to strengthen media. Is media calling the shot or media education calling the shot? So let us try to cater to the needs of the industry, but it should not be unilateral. It should be, they have to join hands with media education, and then only you can collaborate and coordinate and improve the quality of media education. And it is very well said that by Professor Ravi, that healthy media is absolutely required. And all of us, and you talk to even a layman, even anybody, even an illiterate person, you talk to him, he doesn't talk well of media, and our students should not be trained for such jobs. We use technology with a purpose to protect democracy, protect equality, and to establish a more equitable society. So this is what I have summed up the deliberations of this panel. Gentlemen, it was, and Dr. Bhavna and Professor Upendra Padi, it was a great honor and privilege to chair this session. And I really enjoyed this session. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for this wonderful, concluding remark from your side. And I'm thankful to the panelists, Dr. B.K. Ravi sir, to Subhash Thulia sir, to Abhijit Bora sir, and our session chair, Dr. Usha Rani ma'am, for this wonderful session. And definitely we have many takeaways from this session, and such kind of discussion is really required. So now I would like to take the opportunity to thank to Upen Padi sir, to the organizing committee of National Media Conclave, and last but not the least, all the participants who were there right from 4:30 to 6:08. It's showing on my PC right now, and to our reporter Nursing Manji sir. So I'm really thankful. Thanks to all the panelists, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
स्वप्ना टीवी लड़ाई करी।
कथा कहब स्वप्ना टीवी
आमर कथा कहब स्वप्ना टीवी
आमर कथा कहब स्वप्ना टीवी
समस्त कथा कहब स्वप्ना टीवी आमर स्वर हम स्वप्ना टीवी आम गरीब कथा कहब स्वप्ना टीवी आमर कथा कहब स्वप्ना टीवी
आमर कथा कहब स्वप्ना टीवी
आम गरीब कथा कहब स्वप्ना टीवी आमर समस्त कथा कहब स्वप्ना टीवी आमर भरोसा स्वप्ना टीवी आमर भरोसा स्वप्ना टीवी आमर भरोसा स्वप्ना टीवी।
The Indian media and entertainment industry, which is synonymous with creativity and innovation, is poised for a steady growth across its different sectors. This growth in the industry has also raised the bar for excellence.
Media and entertainment industry is growing at an exponential rate of 14% CAGR. The employability and the kind of opportunities for entrepreneurship and freelancers are tremendous in this industry. All that you require is a creative skill set.
Under the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, the Media and Entertainment Skills Council aims to create a robust and vibrant ecosystem for quality vocational education and skill development through its training centers and partners across the country.
More than the people who are getting trained in the system right now, the demand for them is much more higher. And that is the reason the placement opportunities for a training institution is always above 50% in the media sector.
जब मैं यहाँ स्टार्ट किया तो बेसिकली आफ्टर 6 मंथ्स कुछ मेरे पास स्किल आई जिसकी वजह से मैं फ्रीलांसिंग जॉब कर रहा हूँ जिसकी वजह से मैं इंडिपेंडेंट हूँ और मैं खुद अपना खर्चा बेयर कर पाता हूँ अब.
Contributing to the Skill India revolution that has swept the nation, MESC is hard at work to create 11.74 lakh skilled workforce by 2022.
We'll open up the world for you so that you can choose what you're best at.
The Ramesh Sippy Academy of Cinema and Entertainment is happy to support the Skill India mission.
We just hope that this country has many greater skilled force in the movies, in many other fields that you all are working at. All the very best.
Just a fighting enemy to establish that truth on the surface, that truth in the universe.